Good day everyone, you're welcome back to the channel. This is Yuglo Fashion and thank you so much for stopping by. Today's tutorial I'll be sharing with you how to draft a Victorian corset pattern, and to do that I first of all marked my starting point, then I marked shoulder to nipple point, shoulder to underbust, shoulder to waistline, you can call it half length, shoulder to blouse length, and also I marked 1 inch allowance for hem. Then after that I measured the shoulder span, which is 15 inches divided by 2. That will give me 7.5 inches, and from that point I marked 7 inches on vertical, and this 7 inches will serve as the chest line and also our armhole guide. So I proceed to connect the 7 inches to the 7.5 inches using my ruler. Then after that I still connect it this way. I just mark the 7 inches, I extend the line for the armhole. First of all I used the 7 inches for the armhole. So now to cuff out our armhole, at this point from the 7.5 inch I came down on vertical again and I measured 4.5 inches, and at the 4.5 I measured half in. So I marked half inch inward, and at this angle here I marked 1 inch. Then I connected the lines. So if you have your French cuff here, if you have your cuff ruler, you can easily connect the lines by using my free hand anyways. So you can also use your free hand too, but cuff ruler will do more justice to this than your free hand. Then after connecting the lines, I proceed to mark the neckline. For the neckline I use 3 by 3.5, that is the width is 3 inches while the length is 3.5 inches, and I curved it out. So this depends on your choice. If you want it wider than this, if you want it lower than this, it depends on you. So after connecting the two together, you can also use your French curve or your curve ruler for this, but for me I don't know where I misplaced mine, so I just used my free hand. And at this point here I marked 1 inch for shoulder slope, then I connect it back to the neckline. So I proceed to label it armhole, and this is shoulder slope, and this is the neckline. So having done with all of that, the next thing to do now is to roll out the chest line and also connect it to the side. You know, I said the 7 inches is also the chest line, so and I labeled it the chest line, that's CL. Next is to measure the nipple to nipple span, and for me my nipple to nipple span is 7 inches divided by 2, that gives 3.5 inches. So I mark the nipple to nipple span right from the chest line down to the M, that is the 1 inch allowance. And after marking that, I came back to the underbust. So here I'll be marking my darts out. So I marked 1 inch on both left and right of the nipple to nipple span. So I marked 1 inch here, and at the other side here I marked 1 inch, and at the waistline also I still mark 1 inch on both left and right side of the nipple span. But at the M I marked half inch on both left and right side of the nipple span. So after marking it out, I also proceed to the chest line and I mark 1 inch at the right side and at the left side as well of the chest line. So then after marking that out, I connected the dots. After connecting the dots at the underbust, I proceed to connect that of the chest line, and I used curve shape. So if you are doing yours, you can use curve ruler. Now we are done with that part. Next is to connect the other dots. So if you are stitching this together, you should know it to give you a curve or a puff shape there because of the kind of shape that you have already. Next I connected the underbust, the waistline and the blouse length together this way. And after that, I came back to the chest line and I marked my bust circumference, which is 36 inches divided by 4, that gives 9, and I added the 2 inches for that back, that's 11 inches. Next, I moved to the waistline. So my waist circumference and my under bust circumference are the same. I used 30 inches for both my waist and my under bust. So at the waist here, 30 divided by 4 will give me 7.5 inches, and I added back the 2 inches for that, which will make it 9.5 inches. And I still plan adding another 1.5 inch for that. So 9.5 plus 1.5 will give me 11.5, but at this point I made a mistake in my addition and I marked 11.5 inches. So please note it should be 11 inches, not 11.5 inches. So after marking the 11.5 inches, which I made mistake with, I still proceed to mark it at the under bust as well. At the blouse length, I marked the circumference of the hip, which is 40 inches divided by 4, that gives 10 inches, and I added 1 inch to that, and also came back to the bust side, the chest line, and I came down with 1 inch at the chest line. This is just to give the yoke a sweetheart shape, and I connected it this way. So if you want your shape to be curved more than this, at this armhole side you can still come down with 1 inch rather, and connect everything together, but I prefer it this way, so that's why I will leave mine like this. So after that, I connected the lines together and I measure from the last part of the dart to the circumference, the remaining inches of the waistline. So whatever I have there, I have 7 inches, and I folded my tape into 2, and that gives me 3.5 inches. So I marked the 3.5 inches right from the chest line down to the hem, and I connected it with my straight ruler. So after connecting, next is to mark the dart. So for the dart, I measured ½ inch because I will be sharing 1 inch for this particular dart. So I measured ½ inch at the right side and at the left side of the 3.5 inch that I ruled out. So I also marked it at the under bust. I first marked it at the waistline and I proceed to mark it at the under bust as well. Then I connected the two together. So after this, I connected it back to the chest line. And I also connect it back to the hem. So now this other dart is ready. We have 0.5 inch left. I added 1.5 inches earlier, so this is 1 inch. The remaining 0.5 inch will be used here. So I marked the 0.5 inch at the waistline here. Then I'll connect it back to the slope I have here. So I connected it back to that point, and also I connected it back to the hem this way. So for me, I'm okay with the numbers of darts I have already, but in case if you want your darts to be more than this, it's possible you can add as many darts as you want. Victorian Corset can accommodate many darts. All you need to do is just to add the inches you are using for your darts to your measurement. For instance, if you are adding another dart, which means you are still adding another 1 inch to your measurement. So the circumference you have here, instead of you having 7 like I have 7 here, you can just have like 8 inches, which means you have added another 1 inch to the remaining circumference here. I hope you understand what I'm trying to explain here. Next, I marked out the parts that need to be cut out. Then I proceed to the side here. So it's a blouse, and it's a straight blouse, or it's a straight top, let me say that. Then I marked 2.5 inches here. Next, I labeled them 1, 2, 3, so as to know which will follow the other. You know, the pattern, the pieces are many, so as not to mix things up, and also to know which will be connected to which. So I also wrote A, B, A, B, A, B. You can also write left and right so that you will know which pattern will connect with the other. So this part is the center front, and the edge here is the side front. So please don't forget, don't go and mix things up. By so doing, you will know which one follows the other. You won't mix things up by labeling everything. Now we are done with the pattern. First thing, I cut out the yoke, then I cut out other pattern. So this is what our pattern looks like. So I labeled this part yoke, and I'll be placing this aside. So we are done with the front pattern. Next is the back pattern. So for this back pattern, I've marked the starting point. Next is the waistline and the blouse length, and also the 1 inch. Next, I marked the zipper allowance, and I used 2 inches. You can use 1 inch, you can use 2 inches. It depends on how much fabric you have. So I used 2 inches for the zipper allowance. Then I also marked the circumference of the shoulder. So for the shoulder circumference is 15 inches, and divided by 2 will give 7.5 inches. So I proceed to mark the 7.5 inches, and at that point also I marked 7 inches on vertical, just the way we did for the front pattern. I replicated the same at the back pattern here. Next, I marked the neckline of the back, and I used 3 inches, but I started my 3 inches right after the zipper allowance. Please don't make the mistake of adding the zipper allowance to your measurement. It's out of your measurement. So after marking the 3 inches rather, I proceed to mark 6 inches. It depends on how low you want the back to be. But this back also we still have yoke, but I just want the back to be low, so I marked 6 inches for the neckline of the back. Then at this point here, I marked 1 inch, then I gave it a slope. I connected it this way. So the next thing is to connect the 7 inches again. Now I said it's going to have a yoke, and for the yoke I just marked the chest line. So I came down with 1 inch after the chest line. That's because I wanted to have a slope shape there. So you can actually use this chest line for the yoke, for your own yoke if you like, and if you want it to come down more than this, you can as well do it that way, but I want it to have this kind of shape. That's why I marked this 1 inch down. So now we are done with the yoke side. Next is to mark our circumference. So I'll be using the circumference of the bust just the way I did for the front. That's 9 inches. That's 6 divided by 4. That's 9 inches, and also I marked additional 1 inch. So this is our chest line. Next is the circumference of the waistline. So the circumference of my waistline is 30 inches. Divided by 4 will give 7.5 inches, and I'll still be adding my dart. For the dart, I added 1.5 inches, so which makes it 9 inches. And at the hem here, I used my hip circumference. That's 40 inches divided by 4, and I added 1 inch. I connected the lines together this way. Next, I marked the nipple to nipple span. That is 7 divided by 2, 3.5 inches, and I marked that at the waistline. So I connected it with a straight line back to the chest line and also to the blouse length, to the hem. So after the connection, I marked the dart. So for the dart now, I added 1.5 inch to my measurement for that. So and I proceed to mark the dart. So for this first dart, I used half inch on both sides of the nipple to nipple span, and I connected it back to the chest line and also down to the blouse length this way. So now we have used 1 inch out of the 1.5 inches for that. Next is the remaining half inch. So for the half inch, I will use it at the zipper side here. So I used the half inch, I marked it inward and then connect it back to the chest line and also back to the hem line. So this half inch will help reduce the bulge or eradicate the bulge totally. Next, I try to reshape the zipper allowance since I've removed half inch in. After that, I marked 2.5 at the side here, just the way I did for the front, and I slant it, so it's going to give me a slope shape here. So we are done with the other side. Next is to label them accordingly. So this is the center back and this is the side back. So if you label them, you won't make mistake. And like I said, in order to know which will follow which, so you label them A, B, A, B, so you know which to connect with which, or you label them left, right. You can still add more darts to your pattern, so it's your choice. And if you want to add more darts, just add like 1 inch, 2 inches to your measurement, because it's Victorian corset and you can have multiple darts as you want. Then I cut out the pattern. So this is the back pattern. We are done with our cutting. This is both the front and the back alongside with their yoke. And the next thing is to use this pattern to cut our fabric, and I've done that. I wouldn't want this video to be too long, so I'll be showing you how to sew this in my next video. So please stay tuned and ensure you watch the making of this Victorian corset. Thank you very much for watching this video to the end. Please like and share the video, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. See you in my next video. Bye.